Okay, so have you heard about this AI app, DeepSeek? It like totally blew up, topped the App Store charts practically overnight.
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of attention, that's for sure.
More than just hype though, right? That's what we're going to look at today.
Yeah, definitely. I think it has the potential to be a real game changer.
We've got articles, analyses, the whole 9 yards, comparing it to, the big names like ChatGPT, breaking down what it does well, where it stumbles, even how it's impacting the stock market.
It's interesting because this isn't your typical Silicon Valley startup story. DeepSeek is coming from China, founded by this guy, Liang Wenfeng, who also runs a hedge fund.
Ah, so different background, different approach maybe.
Yeah, definitely colors their strategy.
It feels like they're coming in swinging,
Yeah.
Their goal is to make powerful AI that's both open source and cheaper than what's out there. That's a pretty bold move.
Absolutely. Direct challenge to the established players. Their two main models, DeepSeek V3 and R1, are designed for different tasks. V3 is kind of the workhorse, the versatile one, while R1 is more specialized for logic and code.
So different tools for different jobs. Got it. But what makes their tech actually different? Under the hood, I mean.
One of their secrets is something called mixture of experts, or MOE.
Mixture of what?
Experts. Think of it like the AI has different parts of its brain that are really good at specific things. Instead of using its whole brain for every task, it picks the best expert for the job, the most efficient one.
Oh, that's pretty clever. So it's like having a team of specialists instead of just one generalist, right?
Exactly.
And is that how they can offer such low prices? That's been a big part of the buzz, right?
That's part of it. The MOE architecture means they don't need as much computing power, which means lower costs. But they've also managed to train their model like 10 times faster than some of the competition.
Oh, it's huge.
Huge advantage for developers. Faster development cycles, quicker prototyping, it all adds up.
Okay, so DeepSeek is faster, cheaper, and pretty smart. But let's be real. No AI is perfect. Where does it fall short? What are the downsides?
Well, DeepSeek is amazing at things like math, coding, those kinds of very structured problems. But it has had some technical hiccups.
Like what?
Oh, just some glitches, performance inconsistencies, nothing major but worth noting. And its web search capabilities, they're not as sophisticated as some dedicated tools like Perplexity.
So the right tool for the job, as always. But taking a step back, who benefits most from DeepSeek's strength?
Developers are going to love this. Open source means you can really tinker under the hood, and their pricing. Let's just say it's way more affordable than OpenAI.
Yeah, I bet independent developers are rejoicing.
Absolutely. But it's not just individuals. Businesses needing very specific AI solutions are another big target. They've already got specialized models for coding and image generation.
Showing they're willing to get niche, to really tailor their AI.
Right. And then there's the fact that anyone can play around with the free tier. You can try out DeepSeek V3 and R1 with no limitations.
So it's really opening up access to powerful AI.
That's the idea.
Okay, but let's talk stock market now. You mentioned Nvidia taking a hit because of DeepSeek.
Remember how DeepSeek can train so much faster, meaning it's cheaper?
Yeah.
Well, that sent shockwaves through the market. Nvidia, they make those expensive chips a lot of AI companies depend on. Their stock dropped 17% in one day.
No way. Just from DeepSeek.
Investors got worried. If DeepSeek doesn't need those pricey chips to be competitive, what does that mean for Nvidia's future? Suddenly, it's not just cool tech. It's about global economics and who's calling the shots in the AI world.
That's a massive power shift. But how are they achieving these efficiencies? What are they doing differently?
They're not just relying on brute force computation. They've really thought about how to design the system itself, like that mixture of experts thing we talked about.
Right, using the right brain for the job.
Exactly. It's like having a team of specialists instead of one generalist who's just okay at everything. They can get performance comparable to much larger models, but at a fraction of the cost.
So smarter, not harder.
Right. They've also got this technique called dual pipe, which basically super efficiently moves data between the processing units, speeds up training, and uses less energy.
So they're optimizing the whole process, not just the AI itself.
Exactly. Now, the way the AI actually learns is fascinating, too. They've moved away from those traditional neural reward models.
Those are the ones that try to copy how humans judge things, right?
Yeah. Instead, they've got this rule-based system, much more explicit, more objective.
So clear guidelines instead of learning by example.
Right. And it's led to some crazy results, especially in things like math. Their R1 model, After being trained with this rule-based system, it saw a huge jump in its ability to solve complex math problems. Like it reached 71% accuracy on the AEM 2024.
That's that super hard math competition, right?
Yep, notoriously difficult. So that explains their strength with logic and reasoning.
It all starts to make sense, but where does DeepSeek fit into the bigger AI picture? What's the impact beyond their own products?
Well, they're really challenging the idea that you need massive resources and tons of data to make powerful AI. They're making it more accessible to, a much wider range of developers and researchers.
It's leveling the playing field, basically.
Exactly. And that could lead to a surge of new innovation, new applications we haven't even thought of yet.
Okay, that's incredibly exciting. But all this talk of open source and accessibility, what about the potential risks?
Well, the biggest one is misuse. If anyone can get their hands on the code and modify it.
It could be used for things that aren't so ethical.
Right. Imagine someone creating AI-powered misinformation campaigns or even more convincing deepfakes. It's a little unnerving.
Definitely highlights the need for responsible development, not just by DeepSeek, but everyone working on AI.
Absolutely. We need to think about the consequences, build in safeguards.
So responsible AI development, check. What else should we be considering?
Transparency. DeepSeek's training data hasn't been fully disclosed, so it's hard to know if there's any bias baked into their models.
So we don't know what it's learned from.
Right. And that leads to another concern, which is explainability.
Explainability.
Can we understand how the AI reached a decision? With these complex models, sometimes it feels like a black box. That's a problem, especially in fields like healthcare or finance.
Where the stakes are high and you got to trust the system.
Exactly. So we need AI that can not only give answers, but also explain its reasoning.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's look at the competition. DeepSeek isn't the only player in the game, right?
Right. One of the biggest names they're up against is ChatGPT, developed by OpenAI.
Right. That's the one that's gotten so much attention for being good at, well, pretty much everything.
Yeah, ChatGPT is known for being super versatile. It can write different kinds of creative content. It could have natural-sounding conversations.
Which of the jack of all trades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's popular because it's easy to use, very accessible. But it does have its weaknesses.
Like what?
It can generate responses that are factually incorrect or biased, and it can struggle with tasks that require deep reasoning or logical thinking.
So creative, but not always accurate.
Right. Now, in contrast,
DeepSeek is all about logic and problem solving.
exactly. Their models, especially R1, really shine in those areas. Plus, DeepSeek is significantly cheaper, especially if you're using their API for large projects.
So if you need precision and logic, DeepSeek might be the way to go. But for more creative stuff, maybe ChatGPT.
It all depends on your needs.
Makes sense. Okay, what about Perplexity? Isn't that the one that's supposed to be amazing for research?
That's the one. It's an AI-powered search engine built for accuracy and up-to-date info.
So like a research assistant on steroids.
Right. It uses natural language processing and machine learning to understand what you're searching for, and then it pulls info from all over the place.
Yeah.
The internet, academic databases, news articles.
Wow, that's comprehensive. But what are its downsides?
Well, it's great for research, but it's not as strong in creative tasks or conversational abilities compared to ChatGPT or DeepSeek. It's really focused on information gathering and accuracy.
Okay, so for deep dives into research, Perplexity, but not for writing a screenplay.
Right. Now, how does DeepSeek compare?
Yeah, how does it stack up?
Perplexity definitely wins for research. It's got access to way more sources, and that's its whole purpose. But DeepSeek has the edge when it comes to logic, problem solving.
And complex technical stuff like coding, right?
Absolutely. So, again, it depends what you need it for. Research, Perplexity, logic-based tasks, coding, those technical challenges. DeepSeek might be the better choice.
Got it. So each tool has its strengths. Now, what about ChatSonic? Where does that fit in?
ChatSonic's kind of a wild card. It's meant to be more conversational, more engaging than some of the others.
Oh, so it's got personality?
You could say that.
Yeah.
And it's got some cool features. It can generate different creative text formats like poems, codes, scripts, musical pieces, email, letters, etc. And it can even make digital art.
Wait, it can create art too. That's pretty neat.
Right. And it's good at understanding voice commands, so you can actually talk to it.
Oh, that's convenient. But what are its limitations?
It's not as strong with complex reasoning tasks as DeepSeek or Perplexity. It's more of a general-purpose AI than a specialist.
Okay, so good for conversations and creative tasks, but not necessarily for hardcore research or solving really tough problems.
Right. It's a good choice if you want a more conversational back-and-forth experience, especially if you like using voice commands. But if you need that heavy-duty logic power, DeepSeek might be a better bet.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. DeepSeek's origins, their tech, what they're good at, what they're not so good at, and how they compare to some of the other big names out there.
It's a pretty interesting story unfolding.
It is. But what does this all mean for the future of AI? That's the big question.
It's not just about one company. It's about a potential paradigm shift in the entire industry.
Because DeepSeek is showing that things can be done differently.
Exactly. And I think their influence is going to be felt in a number of ways. One of the most immediate impacts is going to be increased competition in the AI market.
Makes sense. If DeepSeek can offer these powerful models at such low prices, it puts pressure on everyone else to either lower their prices or innovate even more, right?
Right. And ultimately, that's a good thing for everyone who uses AI. More choices, better value.
So more competition, good for consumers. What else can we expect to see?
DeepSeek has shown that you don't need massive resources to create powerful AI.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to push the entire field towards greater efficiency and accessibility.
Which is good news for the environment as well, if we can reduce the energy consumption of these massive models.
Exactly. And then there's the potential for a shift in the balance of power within the AI industry. Right now, a lot of the control is in the hands of a few big companies.
But DeepSeek's approach could change that.
It could. Democratizing AI, making it more accessible to more people, could lead to a whole new wave of innovation.
Because now people who didn't have the resources before suddenly have access to these powerful tools.
Right. It's exciting to think about what could happen.
It is. But with all this potential comes a whole lot of responsibility, right? We need to be asking some tough questions about what kind of future we want to build with AI.
Absolutely. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it and the impact it has on society.
That's the conversation we're going to dive into in the next part of our DeepSeek deep dive, so stay tuned.
We'll be back. So we were talking about how DeepSeek could really shake things up.
Yeah, the idea that you don't need to be like a giant corporation with millions of dollars to get your hands on powerful AI.
Right, that accessibility is a big deal.
It is. But before we, get too deep into the philosophy of it all, I want to go back to the tech for a sec. What specifically makes DeepSeek so different? Like under the hood, what are we looking at?
One thing that stands out is their approach to model diversity. They haven't just created one general-purpose AI. They've got this whole suite of models, each one fine-tuned for a specific task. It's like a whole toolkit.
So instead of one AI that tries to do everything, they're giving you specialized options.
Right. It gives developers a ton of flexibility. Need something that's amazing at logic puzzles? DeepSeek's R1 is your go-to. Want an AI that can generate different creative text formats like poems, codes, scripts, musical pieces, email, letters, etc.? DeepSeek V3, their massive language model. The one's got a whopping 671 billion parameters, can handle that.
671 billion, that's just, I can't even wrap my head around that. So they've got models for general tasks, for advanced reasoning. What else?
Specialized models for coding, image generation. They're covering a lot of ground. It makes them a real contender in the AI space.
It's like they're thinking about all the different ways people will want to use AI and building a tool for each one.
Yeah, they're definitely thinking ahead.
But it's not just about the different models, right? What about the technology itself? Are they doing anything innovative there?
Oh yeah, they're pushing boundaries. They're not just using the same old AI architectures. They're coming with new approaches that get better performance with fewer resources.
So making AI more efficient. That's good news, especially with all the concerns about how much energy these models use.
Exactly. Their training process is top-notch, too. It's how they create models that are both accurate and efficient, because it's not just about being smart. It's about being fast and responsive as well.
Which is super important for real-world applications. Nobody wants to wait around forever for the AI to do its thing.
Exactly. And then there's their focus on economic efficiency.
Right, you mentioned that, but what does it actually mean?
They're getting impressive results with a relatively small budget. It's like they're finding these clever shortcuts, doing more with less, which is a big reason why they can offer their models at such low prices.
It's a game changer for smaller companies, or even just individuals who want to experiment with AI but don't have, millions to throw around.
It really does level the playing field. And then there are those specialized capabilities we were talking about. Like they've really gone deep in certain areas. Their DeepSeek coder model, for example, is specifically built for coding tasks. It's been trained on this massive data set of code, and it can actually generate code that's accurate and efficient.
So it's like having an AI coding buddy.
Pretty much.
That's wild. What other specialized models do they have?
They've got Janus Pro 7B, which is all about images,
Mm.
understanding them, generating them. It's been trained on a massive data set of images and can make some seriously impressive artwork.
Wow. AI that can code, create art. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really shows you how far AI has come.
It does. It seems like DeepSeek is really committed to pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
They are. And they're also committed to making AI accessible to everyone, not just a select few.
That's important. AI has the potential to, solve a lot of problems, but only if everyone has the opportunity to actually use it.
Right. That's why they've made a lot of their models open source. Anyone can access the code, use it for whatever they want.
That's pretty generous. It really opens the door for a whole new wave of innovation because now anybody with the skills can develop and deploy AI applications.
It's a bold move for sure. But, it's important to remember that DeepSeek isn't perfect. They've got weaknesses too.
Of course, no company is perfect. What are some of the downsides? What should we be aware of?
One thing is that their models are still pretty new. They haven't been tested as thoroughly as some of the, more established AI models out there.
So there could be bugs or performance issues we don't know about yet.
Possibly.
Mm.
And they're still a relatively small company. They don't have the same resources as some of the giants in the AI world.
So it might be hard for them to attract top talent or keep up with the pace of research.
It's something to consider. And then there's the fact that they're based in China. That could make it tricky for them to expand into Western markets.
Because of cultural differences, political tensions, things like that.
Exactly. Some Western consumers might not be so keen on using AI products developed in China. It's something DeepSeek will have to address if they want to go global.
Makes sense. Anything else? Any other potential challenges?
Well, DeepSeek is a pretty closed company. They don't share a lot of info about their internal processes, which could make some users uncomfortable.
Especially with all the concerns about data security and privacy these days, transparency is so important.
It is. And look, they're a new company. They don't have a long track record to point to. We'll have to see if they can live up to all the hype.
That's true. Speaking of hype, I wanted to go back to something we talked about earlier, DeepSeek's impact on the stock market. That was a pretty big deal. Can you walk us through what happened there?
Sure. Back in January of 2025, DeepSeek's app, seemingly out of nowhere, became the #1 most downloaded free app on Apple's App Store here in the U.S. Created a ton of buzz in the tech world.
It was a big deal, but it wasn't just the tech world that was paying attention, right?
Right. The stock market reacted too. And Nvidia, specifically, their stock took a hit.
Nvidia, what do they have to do with DeepSeek?
Nvidia makes GPUs. Those are graphics processing units. They're essential for AI development because they can process huge amounts of data really quickly.
So is it because DeepSeek doesn't use Nvidia's GPUs?
Bingo. The fact that DeepSeek can get such impressive results without relying on Nvidia's GPUs spooked some investors. They started to worry about Nvidia's future.
So they sold off their Nvidia stock, which caused the price to drop.
Exactly. Nvidia's stock plummeted 17% in a single day. That's the power of DeepSeek. That's how disruptive their approach is.
It's a good reminder that AI isn't just changing the tech world, it's changing the global economy as well.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another crucial point, the potential impact on jobs. This is something we need to talk about.
Yeah, people are already worried about AI automating jobs, taking over work that humans currently do.
Right, and with DeepSeek making AI even more accessible, those concerns aren't going away. But I don't think it has to be all doom and gloom. There are things we can do to prepare.
Like what? What can we do?
We can focus on retraining people for jobs that are less likely to be automated. Jobs that require creativity, critical thinking, human interaction. The things that AI can't replicate.
So, uniquely human skills.
Right. We can also create entirely new jobs that are specifically about AI. Jobs that involve designing, developing, managing these systems.
So instead of thinking of AI as a job killer, maybe we can think of it as an opportunity to create new industries, new career paths.
Exactly. It's about adapting, evolving alongside the technology.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about misuse? AI is a powerful tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
Absolutely. And that's why we need to be thinking about ethical guidelines for AI development and use, like a code of conduct to make sure it's being used responsibly.
So how do we prevent those worst-case scenarios where AI is used for harmful purposes?
Education is a big part of it. We need to be teaching people about AI, the potential benefits, but also the risks, so that everyone can make informed decisions about how they want to use it.
Empowering people to understand the technology, not just blindly trusting it.
Right. The future of AI is ultimately up to all of us. That's why conversations like this are so important.
Okay, so we've got potential job displacement, the need for ethical guidelines, the importance of education. It sounds like DeepSeek's approach, while exciting, is also opening up a Pandora's box of issues we need to grapple with.
There are definitely a lot of complex questions to consider. And it's not just DeepSeek. These are things we need to be thinking about as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives.
It is. But before we go too deep into all of that, I know there are a lot of other cool AI tools out there besides DeepSeek. What are some that our listeners might want to check out?
Oh, there's a whole world of AI out there to explore. There's Jasper, which is an AI-powered writing assistant. It can help you generate content, brainstorm ideas, even write entire blog posts for you.
That sounds pretty useful.
It is. And then there's Grammarly. You've probably heard of that one.
Oh, yeah, Grammarly's great. I use it all the time.
It's an AI-powered grammar and spelling checker. Catches all those little mistakes we all make.
A lifesaver.
Yeah.
What else? What else is there?
If you're feeling creative, check out DLE. That's an AI system that can create images and art from a description you give it.
Wait, so I can just tell it what I want to see and it'll make it for me?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the results are amazing. Then there's Jukebox. That one's an AI system that composes music. You just tell it what kind of music you want and it'll create it for you.
Whoa, AI making music? That's insane.
Right. It really shows you what AI is capable of. And I think we're just scratching the surface.
It's a pretty incredible time to be following all of this, but like we've been talking about, it's not all sunshine and roses. DeepSeek is just one example of how AI is pushing boundaries and forcing us to think about some really big questions about the future.
A future that we're all creating together.
Well said. And that leads us perfectly into the final part of our DeepSeek deep dive. We've looked at the company, the tech, the competition. Now it's time to talk about the big picture. What DeepSeek means for the future of AI, and what we should be doing to make sure that future is a positive one.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay, so welcome back to our DeepSeek deep dive. We've talked about their tech, the competition, even how DeepSeek's kind of shaking up the stock market.
It's been a wild ride for sure.
It has. But now I want to get philosophical for a minute. What are the big questions that DeepSeek's raising? The stuff that should really be on everyone's minds.
I think DeepSeek's success shows us this whole new set of possibilities, but also potential problems that we got to be ready for.
Okay, give me an example. What kind of possibilities?
Imagine a world where powerful AI is truly affordable, accessible to everyone, not just these huge companies, but small businesses, researchers, students, anybody.
That would be amazing. Like truly democratizing AI, letting anyone use it.
Exactly. We could see an explosion of creativity like nothing we've seen before. People solving problems in their communities, building businesses, making art, music. The possibilities are kind of mind-blowing.
I love that. But you also mentioned problems. What should we be worried about?
Misuse. What happens when this tech falls into the wrong hands? Imagine AI being used to make, super convincing propaganda or to create autonomous weapons. That's scary stuff.
It is. So we need to be really careful about how we develop and use AI going forward.
Absolutely. Responsible development, safeguards, thinking about unintended consequences. And it's a conversation everyone needs to be part of, not just tech people.
Okay, so it's not just about building cool tech, it's about building it ethically. What else should we be thinking about as AI gets more powerful, more accessible?
Here's a question that keeps me up at night. What happens to human creativity, to ingenuity, if AI gets good at everything? Like, if you can write music, paint, code better than us, what's left for us to do?
That's a big one. Do we become obsolete? Is AI going to take over all the creative jobs, leaving us with nothing?
I don't think it has to be like that.
Yeah.
AI can be a tool that helps us, That enhances our own creativity, not replaces it.
So AI with humans, not AI versus humans.
Exactly. Imagine artists using AI to push their creativity further. Writers working with AI to beat writer's block, explore new ideas. The possibilities for collaboration are huge.
That's a much better picture. But it also sounds like we need to be changing how we educate people to prepare them for a world with AI everywhere.
Absolutely. We need to teach people how to work with AI, how to use it, how to think critically about its limitations, and we need to get ready for a job market that's going to look completely different.
So this isn't just a conversation for tech experts, it's for everyone.
It is. The choices we make now will determine what the future with AI looks like. Collaboration and progress, or AI becoming something we fear.
Okay, so what can our listeners do? How can they be part of this and help shape the future of AI?
Explore. Don't be afraid to try things out. Download the DeepSeek app. Play around with it. But most importantly, keep asking questions. Question the assumptions, the limitations. Think about the ethical side of things.
Be informed, be engaged, be proactive. The future isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating.
That's what makes this such an exciting time. A little scary, but exciting.
Definitely both. Well, thanks for joining us on this DeepSeek deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, we hope this has sparked some curiosity and maybe even some healthy concern. Remember, the future of AI is in our hands.
Go out there, explore, experiment, and keep asking those tough questions.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.